All right, we are in the 9th inning. This is it. We are in the home stretch. And I have to admit, I think we might have saved the best for last. So it is my incredible pleasure and distinct honor to be able to welcome to the stage the newest and most senior technology leader, Hispanic technology leader at Wells Fargo, our CIO for the Chief Operating Office, Tiago Spritzer. So Omar didn't tell me about that there were chairs here. Yeah. I've been standing for 2 days. Okay, well, I've had the incredible pleasure to be with you for the last 2 days, but now we get to turn the microphone over to Tiago, who's gonna share some of his personal journey into his incredible new position that he just assumed. So Tiago, thank you so much for being here with us today. So like many of you in the audience, this is Tiago's first high-tech summit, and I have told him all about it. So what do you think?
I love it. This is great. First time, but I'm loving it. The energy, the vibe, seeing good friends of mine. I saw probably 15 people walking into the auditorium. We cross paths and they say, hey, how are you? We try Spanish, we try Italian, Portuguese. When I got to the stage, they start talking English. I said, what are you talking? What language are you talking? It was fantastic. And I do want to also say that we are celebrating the 50 high-tech winners. And I have nothing to do with I did not judge. I'm not part of the selection criteria. But I got to tell you, I have a lot of friends in that list. So I want to say celebration, great accomplished, and I'm very proud of all of you that have been the winners of this year.
So when Tiago and I were starting to prepare for today's session, I said to him, everyone can read your resume. We can all look you up on LinkedIn. We want to know the stuff that's not written on the internet. So, Tiago.
That's how I get in trouble.
I said, I promise they won't share, right? We'll see. Hopefully he'll give us some creative liberties here to share. But he does have an incredible story, and one that I hope many of you will connect with. So what you might not know is that Tiago was part of a startup developing mobile applications more than 20 years ago, and his first job at a corporation when he was just 16 years old. Tiago, can you tell us how those experiences from the early years have shaped your professional journey?
I can. So I think this is the first official time that I'm sharing this, but when I was through the high school, my mom actually inspired me and said, hey, why don't you take a professional degree? So I'm probably you're familiar, there is a program called PTech in the US. You can go and do your high school plus your professional degree together. And I wasn't, like many people, I wasn't sure if I would make to college. So my mom said, hey, you gotta take a professional degree. And so I took it. So during high school, I had a computer science degree. And by the age of 16 years old, I was chosen to become intern in the Metro, so the subway company of Rio. So not subway franchise, like the Metro. Millions of people being logistic transport every day. And my first manager, Angela Alcofra, she chose me and said, hey, you're gonna be part of the technology team. I had no idea walking into like a corporation what would be. So things like how to dress, how to say what to say. Why do we need to have org charts? Why do we need to have those processes? Why do we need to build systems in the way that are reliable, scalable, and have all the things that need to be to support a massive operations of a transportation in Rio? So she mentored me and she gave me a lot of insights on how to go through those steps and understand more about a corporation. Then I moved to IBM, so I spent almost 16 years at IBM. At IBM, I've been moved. Many roles, many areas, many different countries, and have pretty much done from consulting to development, from engineering, from partner, and leading computing or digital computing for clients, and also global SAP deployments across the globe. So lived in the US, also was leading all the global SAP implementations across the globe, spent 6 months in and out in Bangalore in 2012, and came back, went to Latin America, so a lot of movements within IBM. And then 6 years, the last 7 years, spent time, 5 years in Mexico as the group CIO for Citibanamex. So Banamex, now it's in the news again, as you can watch, but the promise was become the first group CIO for Citibanamex. Banamex, I think everybody knows Banamex. It's an iconic historical franchise in Mexico. It was the largest franchise for Citi in consumer, and big 22 million clients, 25% of all digital transactions in the country, payment transactions in the country, so a massive universal bank that has pension fund, insurance. And the point was, if we invest $1 billion in technology through 4 years in Citibanamex, we can make that bigger franchise and much more relevant. So we became, from being the worst, probably the last in digital, became the first digital bank from 100,000 clients, from pre-pandemic 5 million digital clients, and then post-pandemic 9 million digital clients. First APIs developing in Latin America, 35% of all transactions going through APIs in the new channels, best digital bank, best commercial bank, best private banking digital. So we got a lot of recognition through those 4 years that was leading a Citibanamex from a technology. And then as we're navigating out of the pandemic, I got promoted to become the CIO, the head of technology for one of the largest business at Citi, which is the CRS, which is a co-branded commercial cards and global ATMs. So I moved to Dallas, and that's how my second move into the US, and I was part of Dallas community. And a little bit over 100 days ago, take the opportunity to join Wells Fargo as the CIO for COO. So that's pretty much the story.
Thank you. It's a great one.
Yes.
And I think it proves you have to be willing to take chances, to take risks, and even as you started that story, not knowing, having an incredible level of uncertainty, but being willing to jump on in. I should mention at the tail end of this, we are going to have some time for questions, so be thinking about what you want to ask Tiago. So I'm going to change topics, and we've talked throughout the last day and a half about the importance of having mentors, of being a mentor, of having mentees. Tiago, can you tell us, and I've shared with Tiago especially our theme of push-up, pull-up here at High Tech, and how important that is about leaving our legacy and what we're doing to help and pull other Hispanics up in technology. Tiago, can you tell us, what's your view on mentorship?
So listen, mentorship, it's fundamental. There are a lot of experts here. I just want to give you like 3 stories about mentorship. So the first one, and when I joined, and I'll be vulnerable. I'm going to tell like a lot of things that probably I haven't talked before. But when I decided to join Citibanamex or Citi, I did not come from banking. So not a traditional banker. I came from technology. Early days technology, internet revolution. So like you said, 1998, 1999, I had the first startup, and we developed the first mobile apps in Brazil, where we didn't have iPhone. iPhone was in 2008. So using WAP protocol, we put an e-commerce website that you can access through your mobile device, 1998. So I knew a little bit about technology, but I never been into banking as a banker. So I walked into, became the group CIO for Citibanamex at the table with the CEO, with the CFO, the regional credit the risk officer and legal compliance. And I said, I gotta understand this thing. I gotta know what banking is about. And very humble, I looked to the regional CFO at that time and say, hey, do you mind if I join your staff meetings? And said like, but you were a technology person. I said, right, yeah, but any chance I can join your staff meetings, and I can be, if you let me join your staff meetings, I'm actually going to be also bear my job, and I'm going to support you bear from a technology perspective. So he said, yeah, of course. So we became very good friends, and I wanted to see how was the dynamic in banking. So how we make money, why we're taking decisions, why we take credit decisions, how we make clients to sustainable decisions when we make those. Follow the money that we make, what the returns, what are the elements we care when we give money away, when we recover money away, when we give collections, when we do settlements, when we do processing, when we help clients to go IPO. So all those mechanisms and instruments that existed for more than 200 years, I wanted to see a little bit of the details and how the dynamic were effective within the banking. So my first point is that humble, when you go and ask for, like, I didn't ask him to become my mentor. It's much more join his staff meeting was something that was important to me to understand how the banking was and what are the things that were the drivers of the motivations to taking decisions in banking industry. So, I mean, that's one story that I always, that's good to remind that less than about the mentorship or sitting and discussing your career progression, you can go far from your expertise, your core expertise, and try to learn something new that's outside. That's one, and the second thing that I like about mentorship is the reverse mentoring. Don't underestimate on the reverse mentoring. So every time and every performance reviews I have with my teams, I always ask them, I mean, do you have feedback for me? And most of the time people get very surprised that I ask that question. So what do you mean? So like, yeah, like what are the feedbacks? What are the things that I'm not helping? I'm not helping you to grow and not helping you to keep growing? What are the things that I should do differently for you? And going that reverse mentorship too, it's absolutely important. When I walk into Wells Fargo, massive company, a massive program going on, the 6S strategy from Saul, and I didn't come and say, we're going to do this, right? I took a step back and I said, I'm going to travel. So I did thousands of miles. I'm not gonna say because I'm gonna feel embarrassed if I tell you how many miles I've done. Got me a lot of status, but a lot of miles. I took Uber rides, I took trains, I took stage coach rides within that process. But I got to know a lot of people, and I asked that question: what are the things that you believe we should do differently? And people got very surprised, but once you open that door and you welcome those feedbacks and you get some empathy, you get a lot of important insights that you probably wouldn't get it if you just like come from this tower and come and say, we're gonna do this. So that's, mentor, getting out of your comfort zone, reverse mentoring. And the third one, I would say shadowing. So I did that at IBM multiple times. That was a very common program. So if you walk into a new job, you spend a day with someone else. Your only mission will be with that person to learn how to do their job. So shadowing, it's also an excellent instrument. It helps you to get to know people, but get to know the work, get to know the job, and educate you on what is expected from you when you take your next job.
Excellent advice. So, Tiago, I like switching gears, and we're gonna move through just a couple more topics before we open it up for questions. So, you mentioned that listening tour as you moved coast to coast and through countless miles to learn and listen to employees throughout Wells Fargo. I know you're about 125-ish, maybe days into your role of CIO. Can you tell us what drew you to Wells Fargo? What was the thing that drew you in and gets you excited either before you arrived or now what you've heard as you've listened to employees?
Okay, that's There are a lot of things that attracted me to Wells Fargo. And I think the number one, I was seeing so many talents joining Wells Fargo. People that I either worked or inspired or had known from before, deciding to join Wells Fargo. So like the level of talents that actually decide to take the decision to join Wells Fargo, primarily in technology, but also in the business. So I say, well, that's a magnet of talents in Wells Fargo. So people are joining, there might be a great fun there. The second thing is I think when you look what is Wells Fargo is. So it feels that it's a regional bank, but it's a boosted regional bank. So it's the portfolio that every single bank would like to have it. So we have enough credit card, but we don't have too much credit card. We have a lot of deposits, which is good to have deposits. And we have every single product that we have within the bank and the portfolio that we have. It's really something that other banks inspire to have. And we are a US domestic business, so it's a very robust in US. But that's good, because you think about that, very simple. You don't have to deal with hundreds of different country regulatory requirements or legal entities. At least you know that this is your market, and that's the domestic market, and how you're going to accelerating that. So people joining the portfolio and the way the business is set up in the US to grow. And the third thing is Wells Fargo is in a trajectory to remediate a lot of previous issues. But there is an end to this, and I believe that we coming to an end very short. And that would give us a lot of paveway to keep growing and providing better services to our clients and keep growing within the US. So I want to be part of that chapter where we're going to accelerate and provide more services, more clients, more great experience, but also we're going to grow the business.
Excellent. Well, and I have to tell you again, I like going off script. As I've talked to some of the members of Tiago's team, they feel the energy and the excitement and the enthusiasm about being part of a team, and that's really resonated with them. So, and again, I think you talked to some of that professional journey that you've been on that contributes to who you are today. We've talked a lot during the session around diversity, equity, and inclusion. The group here has heard a lot from Patty, shared some information this morning about what we're doing at Wells Fargo, and in particular, our focus around mobility and around representation and around a culture of inclusion. But not just at Wells Fargo, but just in your professional journey, why is DE&I something that's important to you? And then what can we be doing as individuals to activate around DE&I within our own respective organizations for those individuals sitting in the room and following along virtually?
Yeah, so number one, so it's all about diversity and inclusion. When we think about not only internally, but also what we're doing with our teams, right? The programs we have launched. I was so inspired when walking to Wells Fargo, and the list was, mind-blowing of the amount of progress we've been able. And it's not like just PowerPoint or check the boxes. There are the progress we have made, really making the Hispanic community advancing within technology. The trainings we are providing, like the certifications of clouds. So you look at the numbers, and that's real. Like, that's not like just someone talking about PowerPoints or checking. This is really like numbers of people progressing with Hispanic in Wells Fargo, in technology, that you can see within the firm. And that goes beyond only Hispanic, but also gender. It goes into all the diverse segments. And the announcement that Patty, it became now our senior executive for D&I Hispanic in Wells Fargo. Also, that's a demonstration. After Patty has been appointed, four more executives got appointed, the Hispanic executives got appointed as executive in Wells Fargo. And we're talking about like the last 6 months, so it's not talking about the 2 years history. We're talking like that's how much you can see the progress we're making. And it's great to be part of an organization that have not only the like the logo saying diversity and inclusion is important, but also showing numbers and progress we're making within the firm for this. So this is congratulations to you, Lisa, because you're part of this. The reason why we are here and pretty much you sponsor this great event, it's also because of you.
Thank you. Very kind of you. Thank you. If nothing else, I'm ferocious and I don't like the answer of no. So I want to kind of pivot for a moment. So can you tell the audience where you were born and raised? Because we did a high-tech check-in, but Tiago was not here this morning to be able to do that with us. And I don't know that we have too many people in the room that are from the same country. So can you just do a quick shout-out on where you were born and raised?
I've seen a lot of people that are from my country. But I'm originally from Brazil, as you can see.
Oh, we got a few. There we go.
It's not that hard. So born in Rio de Janeiro, and anyway, moved to São Paulo, and then moved to Mexico, spent time in Argentina, in Chile, in Colombia, went back to Mexico, then US, then India, then back to US, then Brazil, then Mexico. And when I moved to Dallas, and I took this job at Wells Fargo, I told my wife, I said, hey, this might be coming. And she said, if you make us move again, we're going to divorce. So Saul called me and said, hey, what do you think? Where are you going to be based? I said, well, listen, if I want to be I don't want to feel for a divorce, I probably better be in Dallas. And so I'm in Dallas, and it couldn't be a better time. 2 weeks ago, we had a groundbreaking with our governor, Greg Abbott, Charlie Schaff, and we made a massive, now I can say almost $500 million investments or groundbreaking for the most modern technology building we ever built within the firm. And I would say that's pretty much probably the first positive carbon footprint building at that size done in Texas. I haven't heard any other company doing this. So we're gonna, all the solar panels, we're gonna have consume zero from a year. We're gonna produce more energy we're gonna produce more energy than what we consume. And everything very well designed, state of the art. And we're building also 2 data centers also in Texas. So it's the amount of investments we're making in Texas, it's also very good. And I didn't want to not mention this because I feel like since I'm from Dallas now, I gotta mention.
It is a pretty exciting space, and we are very much looking forward to it. I told Tiago when he was telling me about his personal journey, and we have been getting to know each other because it has been just a short while, and he told me about all these countries and to live there and to change and to grow, you know, as a person and then professionally. And as I look around the room with high tech, we have so many people that are representing all of those countries. And I think back to my childhood. I hope, you know, all of you kind of think back to, we've talked about the roots and the ground and the home where we came from. And I told Tiago, you can't help but share that story with this audience because it is incredibly powerful. And we couldn't be more excited to have you with Wells Fargo and especially in the technology organization. So I'm going to ask just one final question before we tee up the questions here in the room and then on the virtual cast. So Tiago, I want to talk kind of in closing. What's your leadership style? So, you know, sometimes people will say, how do people describe you when you're not in the room? What's your brand? What do they say about you? I can guess, but I'm going to let him answer that. So can you tell us kind of what's your leadership style?
In a word, or can be anything?
You can do anything.
All right, go ahead.
This is your stage.
Okay, thank you. No, I've always tried to be so transparent. Everything, and people get very surprised when I go like that much transparent sometimes. People say like, that's too much, like filter a little bit, no filter version. But I want to make sure it's important for people in the organization to understand where we're getting to and why this is important. Sometimes we need to have very difficult conversations, right? What are the reflections, things that we not progressing well, things that we should be progressing more. And it's always better if you show empathy, but also you being 100% transparent, like you making sure that they understand what you're trying to communicate, and ask for feedback. So when we have decisions that are very, let's say, people have a lot of opinions, right? We can say about coming back to office, something that everyone is want to talk about this, right? So if you want to have a conversation, if you're icebreaker, you just talk about, hey, what do you think about returning to office? And you're going to have like 3 hours conversations. Everyone has a point of view, and everyone has a strong point of view on this, so which is very interesting. So the point is that sitting with the team and go through that conversation and explain, hey, those are the things that makes much more sense for us to be together and why we're together. And there are people that disagree, and that's the reason why they disagree, and we try to overcome those. And at the point, I think that they try to, the transparency and show empathy, I think those are the things that I try to bring every day to the work. And like you said, energy. So I probably have too much energy sometimes. And people tell me that very often, that you gotta slow down a little bit, so I'm trying to slow down. And of course, work-life balance. I don't call work-life balance, I call work-life integration, because there is no limits anymore. Like you in the, but the point is, I think we gotta take care of family. I have my son is turning 4 Friday. Yes, and I'm making back. And anyway. But thank you. So he's, I'm trying to have moments with him, like dinner time, weekends. I'm trying to have like something, me and him, so we go out on a Sunday and say, Mommy, by the way, she's very happy when I do that. So I say like, Mommy can do whatever she wants. Like I say, what's Mother's Day is coming, right? And I ask my wife, what do you want to have for Mother's Day? So I just want to have the weekend by myself. I said, wow, that's a feedback, right? When you ask about feedback. So anyway, she will have it the weekend for herself, because I'm going to take my son, we're going to do like a little bit of camping and through Texas.
That sounds like a great weekend. Well, let's go ahead and tee up some questions. So I'm going to invite the audience to join us at the microphones.
All right.
All right.
So I'm just sitting here and reflecting on these past 2 days, and this is also a celebration of our culture, right? So I was wondering, how do you think your Brazilian heritage has influenced your success in the workplace? What is that superpower that has come from your heritage?
I think thank you. More than, I don't know, someone whispered samba, or no, I don't know samba. I think that so Hispanic, and I know between Latinos and Hispanic, we always have that, like, what's the definition? I think so everyone from Mexico to South, right, let's say that. So Latino, Hispanic, I know Brazilian's not Hispanic country, but there is this vibrant energy within Hispanic. You can see that, and I get this feedback not from people that are Americans, that being Americans and never seen exposed to Hispanic community. They will tell me, we can see you are from Latin America, just the way that you, like, when you like hug people and you're like talking and like moving, it's always like moving. And I say like, yeah. So I think we have this vibrant energy, the frequency that we go everywhere, and people, we change the frequency of a room. I don't know if you realize that when you get like Hispanics, Brazilians, when you walk into a room, you change the frequency. Like the room was like, the frequency was like this, and you walk in, and then you start talking, and you get like a frequency, and then you have like everyone like hugging and shaking and ordering tequilas, and so I think it's more, I mean, jokes aside, but we have, and we shouldn't be shy about this. We have this great, vibrant energy that make us like so approachable, make us very open to receive feedbacks. we have, sometimes we have a little bit of drama, right? Like, oh no, why are we having this? And we have discussions, but that's part of us. Like, that's where we are. Like, that's our culture, and that's, we win together, we lose together, but that's like, we have that energy there. It's great, and I think that's something we should be very proud of it. Thank you.
Okay. JC Gutierrez, I'm Managing Director with Amazon Web Services and also part of the High Tech Foundation Board.
Oh, good.
Good to see you, Tiago, again.
Sure.
And great job, Tiago, Lisa, awesome conversation. I recently saw your LinkedIn, and I saw that you have a certification in AWS that you did recently. So, congrats, something that we share.
Thank you.
But the question is, it looks like you really believe in the power of education and leading by example. So, can you share a little bit more why education is important for you and for your team?
Okay, so thanks for the advertising about my certification. I appreciate that. I don't get that much credit. I got it. That was really hard, I gotta tell you. AWS, it's not, by the way, it's not the basic, okay? This is the solutioning architect, I gotta tell you. Associate, okay? Thank you. And I did have the Microsoft one, I did the GCP. Anyway, so by the way, we are not a competition. It's not a competition, okay? But we have at Wells Fargo, we actually support in technology. We pay the certification. That's it. We pay it, right? Any employee in technology, they want to take the certification, we fully pay for it. And we made that, and we have more than 50% of our entire technology population, 35,000 people, we have certified in one of, you can pick and choose among all the cloud providers, not choosing one. You can pick and choose which one you're going to be you do the certification. So back to your question, so technology, right? So when the first time I ever been in a school of technology, I learned what Pascal, what did I learn? C++, Visual Basic, I think. A little bit of COBOL, the last phase of COBOL, but I regret that I haven't dedicated more time to COBOL because we need a lot of COBOL experts right now. But and after that, like you can see the explosion of so many different languages and platforms. I was talking about my story, like being 16 years old and start doing programming. I know there are kids, like you probably have kids at home, you're not impressed with that, but you have kids at home with 8 years old, they are programming in Minecraft. They are probably doing cyber defense strategies across the globe. They are mining for Bitcoins. And they probably doing, they doing education, or they recording YouTube videos of lectures of them teaching other kids on how doing programming in Minecraft. So that's the generation that we have today. So not impressive with my 16 years old, I was programming and helping designing architecture. Now that's the new generation that has so much power within computer power and easy education, right? So anyone now can watch a TikTok video and be an expert in cloud. And which is great, fantastic. And people get very certified. Not certified anymore, you just see TikTok and it gets automatically certified. But the point is, I do believe it's very important for us from our technology that we never stop learning. And we challenge ourselves, so we should be pushing to move into our boundaries and move out of our core expertise and try to learn something new. I mean, the reason why I decided to go into the path of taking different certification was really that. I said, do I know, I mean, should I? The point is that maybe I don't need the certification. I mean, it was not for me, but I said, no, personally, I want to be there, I want to explore, I want to learn, I want to test, I want to create an account, open a computing server. I want to make sure that I have the services, getting my credit card being hit because I left things on for 2 months, and then I got to pay for this. So, but those are experiences that are important for us as technologists to always be close and keep evolving with in our profession. Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Carlos Sanchez. I'm from McKesson Information Security Risk Management. My question probably was answered a little bit on here with the previous question and what you said before. But as I think of ourselves as minorities heading into a field where the people up top are different from us or look different from us, how do you combat imposter syndrome setting in, thinking to yourself that you don't belong where you think you are?
How do you combat? I don't know how to respond that one. I'm still in that phase now, 100 days in. So we, being very humble and being also open to receive feedbacks and get to understand, recognize that the things they are the way it is and why they are. Also, it helps you to educate. You sometimes not sometimes. You don't need to. Don't be overthinking on how to prove yourself. You don't need to prove yourself. It's much better when you get your work to tell about your professional, like why you're a professional. So let the work speak by itself instead of you trying to go and trying to be, oh no, I did that or I did that. When I joined Wells Fargo, I sat with the team and we said, let's look where we are. So there are things that we were okay, we were not bad. We had a lot of changes, we had done a lot of things, we got a lot of certifications. But there were other areas that we were not okay. And I said, what should we do together? Like, what are the things that we should inspire to be the leaders? We defined 4 pillars in engineering principles, talent, which also include diversity, delivery excellence, and architecture. So those are our 4 foundation pillars, and together we define metrics on how we're going to track our progress. So to your point is that every month now, I can go back and I can show, I sat with my 2 manager, I report to the CEO of Wells Fargo, Scott Powell, and now to Tracy Cairns, which is the CIO, the global CIO of Wells Fargo. So I sat in that case with Saul and Scott, and I show what's going to be the metrics we're going to be progressing. That takes input from our clients, that take input from our shareholders, from executives, and from our clients, and for our employees. And sat with them, and I show metrics, those are the metrics we're going to be working through the year to improve. And it's not about being obsessive about the metrics. We don't work for the metrics, but it's a consequence of the work we're doing and the progress we're making within technology. So I sat with them and I said, this is what we're going to be delivering. And everyone's approved, everyone feels like happy with that. And we just got to keep the path that we are on in to keep improving. And I think to your point, when I get to the end of the cycle and at the end of the year, we're going to be able to come back and show like the progress will be shown by the numbers that we agree at the beginning, and not me trying to explain that I did so many of those travels, or I did this, or I did that. It's less about this, it's more about the results and how we prove that we saw results coming from where we were, baseline, and where we became at the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, I think we have time for just one final question.
Awesome. So save the best for last. Hi, I'm Mika. I was also made in Brazil, so I know there's a few of us out here. So thank you for sharing your personal journey. One piece that I loved hearing about was the fact that you went to different places. So I wrote down my question just in case I don't forget. Okay, so with your journey of living around the world, what did you learn about working in a new and different culture? And what advice would you share for somebody who's curious of exploring a new market?
What's the last part? Sorry, I missed
Exploring a new market. What would you share with an individual who's interested in exploring
a new market? Like a new country or a new market?
Yeah.
New country.
New country, yeah, or just different place in general.
Yeah, I decided to, my first salary at IBM, because I don't count my salary at the subway company, which was really nothing. I remember I worked the metro for the subway company for a lot of time, and all the money I have actually earned, I used to buy I can say that, a cake to my mom. That took me almost 6 months to see how much, like there was literally nothing on that period. But I learned a lot of experience. But my first salaries that I was earning from IBM, I decided to go and take a month education in Canada. I went to Whistler, which has in Vancouver, and to do some education. So I've always been like upfront trying to go. My first international trip of IBM was to Mexico, where we were deploying accounts. So I've always been pushing for opportunities. One of the reasons why I decided to join IBM at that time also, it's the possibility of being international. So really seeing like a company that could help you to move around, really geography based. And I really wanted to be in different countries, being exposed to different cultures. I was pushing for that. I think that's a result of why I took that path. And I was always the one like volunteering to see, oh, we have now a problem in Mexico. Who want to resolve this? I'm like, yeah, we have a problem in this. I think, who do I want to go? And I will go. Been always like the one trying to get help. Also, it paved my way. I mean, it helped me. Brazilians typically think they speak Spanish. It's super funny. But it's not. So true story, I was going to Mexico first time, IBM, and they had, hey, we need to implement this new system in Mexico and have a big important client, you gotta go. And I said, listen, I can go, but I don't think I speak Spanish. He said, oh, no, it's fine, it's a 10 hours flight. Just watch a few movies in Spanish, we'll be fine. I said, so I walk into, it's a true story, to the client, and I start talking, and people are looking at me and say like, so after that day, I signed up for Spanish, Duolingo, Spanish class, but I learned, so Brazilians, it's not natural, you don't, like if you're Brazilians, you don't try, you don't speak in Spanish, right? You gotta learn Spanish. And I got in so much trouble because of that. Of course, then I lived in Mexico and Argentina, so I had to I learned a lot, and it's interesting that being always open for those opportunities, volunteering. If you're in a company that have presence in other countries, I think that's probably one of the easiest way for you to move and relocate, because you have all the support to go into other country. But I'm a super proactive of, explore, go to other places, learn other languages, other cultures. It's always expand you and give you more wider knowledge across the globe. All right.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Great
appreciate it.
Tiago, I want to thank you. That was incredible advice. I know I learned even more than I'd already known about you. So let's give him a big high-tech thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Liz.